Welcome to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. I am Tammi Mac, and good evening, everybody. Okay, we ain't trying to step on no toes tonight, but we are trying to get this thing right. When it comes to the Black community, some of the leading causes of health issues and deaths stem from medical conditions like diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. Things that can be attributed to our diets. Y'all mad at me already? It's the truth. It's the truth. Truth don't need no help. Culturally, diets rooted in fatty foods were established during slavery and have been passed down through the generations. But what are some of the real factors for obesity in the Black community today? And how does the lack of education about nutrition and poverty play a role in eating healthy? And are healthy foods as costly as people claim? This is one of my pet peeves, but I'm gonna wait until we start the show to get into it. Tonight, the business of being Black on the Tammi Mac Late Show is obesity in the Black community. Please welcome obesity medicine specialist, Dr. Michael G. Knight. Hi, Dr. Knight.
Hello, good night. Good night.
Invasive bariatric surgeon, Dr. Monique Hassan. Hi, Dr. Hassan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Entrepreneur and the owner of Bricks Fitness, Robert Bricks Glover. Hi, Bricks.
Hey, Tammy.
Social media influencer, Janelle Wright. Hi, Janelle.
Hi.
And wellness advocate and makeup artist, Shanae Hayes. What's up, Shanae?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. So the first question that we ask each and every night, and Janelle knows this very well because she has been a guest before, is why? Why should Black people care? Why should Black people care about obesity? And we'll give it to you, Dr. Knight.
Black people should care about obesity because it is a continuous burden on our community. When we look at the rates of obesity over the last decades, in 2000, only about 30% of Americans were obese. In our last data that came out, over 42% of Americans are struggling with obesity. And in the African-American community, it's almost 50%. And when we think about African-American women, it's even greater than that. This is linked to so many conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, that are constantly affecting our community. Name one person on this panel who doesn't have a family member, a community member who has been affected by such a condition. And so we have to address the root cause. And the root cause for so many of these conditions is obesity.
Bricks, why should Black people care?
Because like the doctor said, it's, to state it plainly, it's killing us. And I honestly don't think we have the excuses that we had back in the day because we have access to so much information nowadays. And it's becoming a choice at this point.
Shanae?
I piggyback on all of that. It's affecting our quality of life. I'm one of those ones where the quality of life was greatly affected when I was 100 pounds heavier. And that's why we need to care.
Wow, we'll get into that a little later. Janelle, why should Black people care? Why? Why I can't eat what I want to eat when I want to eat? Why should I care about obesity?
Honestly, I think people should care, but Black people should care because if we don't start caring now, then it's going to be affecting our children. That's one of the reasons why I lost my 100 pounds is because I wanted to be here for my daughter and also to teach her the things that I never was taught, growing up or when it comes to, being healthy. So that's the reason why I think that we should definitely care.
Dr. Hassan, I'm sure you're going to echo most of what has been said, but why should Black people care?
Yeah, absolutely. We should care because it is absolutely proportionally affecting us. If you look at the statistics throughout the country, it's our population that's greatly affected, Black women especially, and Black men. So we've got to do it for our children. We've got to do it for our quality of life. This is a chronic medical problem.
Now, I've heard both of the doctors say women, more than Black women, more than anybody else, even more than men. So Dr. Knight, I have to ask, why are Black women affected by obesity even more so than Black men? What is that disparity about?
That's a great question, Tammy. And we have to think about this in many pieces. It's multi reasons why we see Black women being affected. As we were saying earlier, 57% of Black women are struggling with obesity. And when we talk about obesity, we're talking about a BMI greater than 30. So we think about hormonal reasons. We know that weight gain is linked to pregnancy, menopause, even puberty. There's hormonal reasons. There's also reasons about lifestyle. You know, unfortunately, many times women in our families are busy taking care of everyone else. They don't have time to focus on taking care of themselves. And so there's so many pieces to this, but it's unfortunate that we continue to see these rates in Black women.
Shanae, I see you shaking your head. So I know you got something to say.
He was all down my street with what he just said. Especially when it comes to taking care, we're so busy taking care of other people. That was definitely my story, taking care of my kids, my husband, my family, and never making time for me. And so when I look up, I'm broke down, don't have, energy to give myself what I need. And then also speaking to the fertility issue, I was having problems trying to get pregnant because of my weight. And it definitely affected me being able to get pregnant because of the weight that I was carrying. So he was all down my avenue, and I can relate to all of what he just said.
Okay, I want to ask something very specific here. So were you obese? That's my first question.
Yes, I was obese. I was classified as obese.
And were you pregnant after you lost weight or trying to get pregnant before you lost? Was the weight loss a reaction to not being able to have kids?
No, the weight loss, let's just say that I'm one of the ones that have been that have yo-yo dieted forever. So since the age of 12 years old, I joined my first weight loss center trying to lose weight. So the next 3 decades were me going up and down trying to lose weight. I'd lose, I'd gain, I'd lose, I'd gain. So in terms of trying to get pregnant, the weight loss was not a result of that. The weight loss came well after my kids, had gotten older. But when trying to get pregnant, it was very difficult because of how much weight I was carrying.
Got it. And Janelle, you talked about how you wanted to lose weight because of your daughter.
Yeah, I wanted to lose weight because of her, because I just didn't want to leave her in this world alone because of my weight, that being the reason why, So I had to just make sure that I got it together. But it was really hard for me though, because I suffer from, depression and anxiety. So I had to get my mind right first before I could even tackle the whole weight loss aspect of it all.
Oh, that's a good girl. Okay. You spoke to everybody. You spoke to everybody right there. Get my mind right. Mm-hmm. How do I get my mind right? Because honestly, look, thoughts start in the head. And everything that's seen began in the head as a thought. So how does one get their mind right as someone who has also lost weight and then developed a whole fitness situation, Bricks?
For one, I had to get control of my belief systems, particularly my limiting beliefs. And I had to also take ownership, right? I had to stop blaming my parents. I had to stop blaming my financial situation for my weight issues. So the first thing I did, I took ownership, and then I educated myself. I started reading books about the law of attraction, which definitely changed my mind. I also got therapy, and I started my healing journey, which led to me eventually forming a better relationship with food, because food was my coping mechanism initially. And once I learned how to process my emotions in ways other than food, weight loss honestly became a lot easier for me.
But that's easier said than done. So how did you start to switch your coping mechanism? Because look, I'm one of those people, when something good has happened to me, I'm eating. When something bad has happened to me, I'm eating. When it's just a normal day, I'm eating. Like, I find a reason to eat. I'm like, oh my God, my show came on, I'm eating. You know what I mean? Like, literally. I don't know what I'm coping with. I'm sure there are some issues there. But how do you go from not making it a coping mechanism? What is it that you processed? What happened?
So 2 things. I had to focus on my why, which was, like Janelle said, my children. I wanted to be around for my children. And once I had the awareness that I was literally eating myself to death, I knew I had to make a change. that it was no longer acceptable for food to be my coping mechanism, because I did not want to kill myself.
So it sounds like the mindset thing is something very personal, and there's nothing that you can be taught or coaxed into doing. Would you say that, Dr. Knight?
Definitely. And I think one of the things that, I've heard everyone talking about coping. Remember, when we were little and we did something good, what did our parents do, right? We got ice cream. We stopped at those big golden arches. We have been trained that food is something to be enjoyed. And so it's really rethinking our relationship with food. That's what I have to work with patients every day, because we need food to stay alive, but we can't live for food, right? We have to really have control, and it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice to know that it takes time. That's nice to know. We're going to talk about food next. When we talk about obesity, how can we not talk about food? It is the reason that we are obese, is because of what we put inside of our system. So that's what we're going to talk about when we come back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Tonight we tackle the business of being Black is obesity in the Black community. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel because you're just dying to hear about more of these topics, then you can do that. And make sure you hit that notification bell to get all the best updates and new videos and live shows. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, baby, because that tells us how you feel. Hit us up in the comment section, because we got people in the comment section too. I'm coming to y'all right now. Chat with us. We chat back. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about obesity and how it impacts the Black community with invasive bariatric surgeon, Dr. Monique Hassan, entrepreneur and the owner of Bricks Fitness, Robert Bricks Glover, obesity medicine specialist, Dr. Michael G. Knight, social media influencer, Janelle Wright, and wellness advocate and makeup artist, Shanae Hayes. Thank you all for being here tonight. So Richard Moonstone says, what about the food? Is there something in the food? I like food though. Look, Richard, that is a t-shirt. Tomorrow I will be wearing a t-shirt saying, I like food though. Then Deborah says, intermittent fasting will get you focused and right. TT says, I'm eating right now. just piss us all off, TT. Why don't you, please? And our friend Incog says, being obese can increase estrogen in the body that can drive tumors that block you from carrying children to term. Fibroids are a huge problem among Black women, and I bet some of it is due to diet. So let's talk about the diet. I talked about in my intro how slavery takes us back to a history of fatty foods. And so let's talk about the foods, obviously, because here's my issue. Our great-grandparents lived much longer than we're living today, because the foods that they had were foods that they grew. There were no hormones in it. There were no pesticides on it. Like, there were foods that they were handling, tilling and soiling and growing themselves. And now we're souped up on processed foods and foods with corn syrup and all kinds of things that I looked at a bag of Cheetos the other day. I was eating Cheetos. I was like, I don't even think this food. I don't even, like, I was looking at the label like, where's the food? What am I eating? So let's talk about the food when it comes to obesity. Why is it that we cannot shake these sugary foods and these foods that are full of bad things for us, Dr. Hassan?
Well, I think it has to do with our environment. So if you look at several studies have shown that underrepresented minorities tend to live in neighborhoods that are called food deserts, and they don't have access to fresh, healthy foods. And so those neighborhoods are also associated with higher amounts of sugary, sweet, processed foods. And if you are low income, then are you going to go to Whole Foods and buy, $200 worth of groceries? No, if you are a single mom working with a family, then you're going to buy whatever's the cheapest, and you're going to try to look for healthy quality foods, but it's very hard. So, you're in an environment where you also can't walk, right? It's an unsafe neighborhood. So you don't have physical activity. So I think all of these things compound us, not only the diet, but also exercise limits us.
Dr. Knight?
Thanks, Tammy. I want to jump in right here because what Dr. Hassan is so important. A lot of times we talk about food deserts, and it makes it sound like people have to travel miles to find food. And there are parts of the country that are like that. But when we think about our Black communities, I actually like the term food swamp because there is a lot of food. It is just that the food that is most affordable and ready accessible is low nutritional quality.
Yeah.
We have to understand that low nutritional quality food has been pumped into our community. The marketing is targeting us. The community grocery stores are having foods right by the checkout line. It's not the healthiest item. So we need to understand that, and also understand that, yes, we need food, but we have to understand how our body processes it, as well as how we respond to food, whether it's protein, fats, or carbohydrates. 3 different effects, and it's very important to understand that.
Absolutely.
What are the 3 different effects from those that you mentioned?
Sure. So again, we need energy to live, right? So we need calories. You can't survive on 0 calories. However, where you get your calories is going to be different. 100 calories of protein is different than 100 calories of carbohydrates. Proteins is something that we need. We can't make all the proteins we need, so we actually have to have protein, and it gives us energy. Whereas carbohydrates often will give you that sugar rush, right? But it really leads to excess weight in so many individuals, particularly in the African American community, where we see things like insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, which is on a spectrum. Basically, that means your body does not process carbohydrates well, and that's a problem for the majority of patients that come through my office.
Why is it a problem, doctor?
So when we think about insulin resistance, I want you to think about this. When we eat carbohydrates, whether it's a piece of bread, pasta, or sugar, we all break that down to a simple sugar called glucose, okay? And when that happens, we need insulin, which is a hormone, to process that sugar. You may have heard of people with diabetes taking insulin, but we all use insulin. When we put on excess weight, we become resistant to insulin. So now those insulin levels are getting higher and higher to try to overcome this resistance. But the high insulin levels are increasing appetite and telling our fat cells to increase fat storage. So you're getting signals to your fat cells to increase. You're getting signals to be hungrier. And eventually that leads to prediabetes and diabetes. Again, all coming from carbohydrate intake that has been pushed on us. When we think about what did we start our mornings with as kids? A bowl of carbohydrates, otherwise known as sugary cereal. That is how we've been trained, and that's a huge portion of why so many Americans are dealing with obesity today.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about food swamp, because as I was looking at the picture that they put up of these fast food restaurants in Black communities, and Kevin, I don't know if you can put those photographs up or not again. But what I think when I see those photos, you see how prominent that those fast food restaurants are, how eye-catching they are. But when you go in the suburbs, they don't even allow signs of that size in the neighborhood. There are always these little discreet kind of McDonald's or KFCs with small little signs that are embedded into the building itself and never high up in the sky. So, and that thought just came to me, Dr. Knight, of how it's different in the suburbs, I guess, or more affluent neighborhoods than it is in the inner cities. And that is something that's very unfair. Go ahead.
No, completely. Even when we think about commercials. So if you look at the commercials that run on our channels, in our community and local stations, that's where we're seeing commercials for these highly sugary drinks, these high sugar content foods. And like you said, there is a reason why the food that's readily accessible and most affordable has the poor nutritional quality and leads to obesity. And then, surprise, we're the ones dealing with obesity because they've been pumped into our communities.
So Briggs, I want to come to you because I know you are heavy on education when it comes to obesity. And you say that it's the lack of education that is creating this obesity in the Black community. And I have to push back a little when we talk about the affordability of nutritional foods in the hood, so to speak. I mean, apples, oranges, greens, like you can buy those things for small prices, but we choose to buy the Cocoa Puffs. We choose to buy the macaroni and cheese in the box. Like those are choices that we make. that really don't have anything to do with affordability. So I always question when people say that healthier foods cost more, because I don't know that people have tried to buy healthier foods and found a larger grocery ticket. But and so I that's why when you say education, Bricks, I go to you on that about how our community is educated. So talk about it.
So to speak about the affordability of healthy eating, the first 120 pounds of my weight loss, I ate on a $50 a week budget, which to some people is not a lot. It definitely wasn't a lot to me. I had to do a lot of research. I had to make sure I downloaded the circulars every week, but it's possible for sure.
Look, let me say this. I hate to cut you out, but I got to say, look, I got to tell on myself. So when I was on food stamps, we was getting steaks all the time. I'm just saying, I'm like, if you getting steaks and you getting food stamps and you buying steaks, surely you can buy you could go to the produce department. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But the issue with education, it goes down to a foundational level. I had no clue how calories even worked. I had no clue how many calories I was consuming. I had no clue how many calories I should be consuming. This stuff was never taught to me. I didn't know I was eating 7,000 calories a day and I should only be eating 3,000 calories. I had no clue. So I think it starts there at the foundational level.
So how do you find that out?
Research. We all have smartphones, right? So I feel like we don't have the excuse anymore.
Yeah, but how do I, Tammi Mac, find out how many calories?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't understand what you were asking.
Oh, okay.
So there's several calculators that you can use online. If you just Google calorie calculator, and I like to use maybe 3 of them and then average the number out, and then it's still an estimate, but it's a great place to start.
So give us maybe the ones that you use.
Okay, so there's one called If It Fits Your Macros. If you Google If It Fits Your Macros, they have a calculator. Bodybuilding.com has a calculator.
Hold on, I'm writing this down. If it fits your macros.
Yes, bodybuilding.com has a pretty reliable calendar.
But most people not gonna go to that app. You know why, right? Because it's called bodybuilding, and most people don't want to bodybuild, so the name itself turns you off. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have a reliable calculator on their site.
Okay. So bodybuilding is the name.
I used to use an Apple. I still use it actually. It's called Lose It. So you just get it on your Android or your iPhone. And it's called Lose It.
Lose It before.
Yeah, I use it. You put your weight in, and it tells you how much calories you are supposed to eat. And you actually could put in the weight you desire, and it will give you the calorie amount that you're supposed to eat to get to that weight loss. If you're active or not, if you are active, it basically just puts it all together for you. So I love that. And I also like My Fitness. Is it My Fitness Pal?
My Fitness Pal. My Fitness Pal.
That's a really another good one too. Yeah.
So I'm hearing you all talk about these apps. And so it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong here, Shanae, Janelle, and Bricks, you don't really need a trainer to make this happen, to lose weight. You don't really need a gym that costs $236 a month. It sounds like you can do this on your own, maybe with an accountability partner.
So I think the fitness industry has done a great job of creating this illusion that we need fitness professionals. We need these fancy gyms. We need these fancy diet plans, when we don't. If you have a 5x5 space in your home and $40, $50 a week for food, you can get it done.
Oh, definitely. I remember when I started my journey, I was just using my treadmill for 15-minute walks every day. I would walk for 15 minutes. And for me, that was a lot, because when I tell you I didn't even used to walk, I would just sit around and do nothing. So 15 minutes a day. And then I had my abs, and I got into intermittent fasting. That's how I lost my 100 pounds, is intermittent fasting. And honestly, after a while, you just get so used to it, and it helps when you see results. Like when you do see those results coming, you're like, okay, I can do this. And
let me run the 5K now.
I went from walking 15 to then walking 30, then to 45. Then I did an hour. Then I was like, I'm going to add another workout after my walk. It was you get to that point after a while.
I do want to talk about intermittent fasting because one of our soulmates brought it up. So we're going to take a quick break and come back, and we want to find out how you three, what your journey was like to losing weight. We'll talk about it when we come back on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. We are the business of Black today is obesity in the Black community. So Briggs, you lost a friend to obesity related complications, and that seemed to have been the push for you to change your lifestyle to a healthier lifestyle. Were you yourself obese or nah, not really?
No, yes, I was definitely obese. I was 360 pounds.
Wow. Wow. So how did this death impact your decision?
So that's the thing that made it real for me. I would hear about people passing away, from lifestyle related health issues, but it was always so far away from me personally. So after a friend of mine passed, I stopped avoiding the doctor, and I had a conversation with the doctor, and, I was borderline diabetic. I had high blood pressure. He wanted to put me on all these medications, and he looked me in my eyes and told me if I didn't lose weight, that I was going to die. And that was the wake-up call that I needed. And I tried to take some steps, and it took a while after that for it to really click for me. Mm-hmm. But once it clicked, there was no turning back for me.
When you say it took a while, what's a while?
Maybe after the conversation with my doctor, maybe a year and a half.
Oh, wow. That is a while.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what made you finally literally get up and, I don't know, walk 15 minutes on the treadmill? Whatever it was that you did.
Yeah. So I honestly, Tammi, I wish I had this amazing story. I just woke up one day and I felt a snap. I felt like I hit my breaking point. I was tired of feeling the way I felt physically and spiritually and mentally about myself. I was tired of not being confident. I was tired of being the fat, funny friend, and I wanted to do something about it. So I started that moment, and I did.
What was the first step? What was the very first step you took?
So I had the South Beach diet book in my home, had no clue where it came from. And I took the shopping list from that book, and I went out and bought all, new groceries, and I threw everything from in my kitchen away. And that was my first step.
So did you think to yourself, I'm going to do this, and then maybe 2 days later, eat a Snicker bar?
Yeah, I actually did. But see, the thing is, this time around, because I'd struggled with weight loss for 10 years. I yo-yo dieted. I've done every diet under the sun. I would lose 50 pounds, gain back 70. So I've done it over and over again. The only difference this time is I stopped quitting. I didn't stop failing. I stopped quitting. And that made all the difference. What's
the difference between failing and quitting?
So failing is when you quit for good, right? So, let me say this again. Quitting is when you stop for good. Failing, if you eat a Snickers bar, like you say, and I hate to call it failing, but in that moment, it felt like failure if I didn't eat on my diet plan, right? So it felt like a failure in the moment, but in retrospect, that wasn't failure. It's balance, it's life, so I just had to keep going.
That's good to know that it's balance, it's life, because I think that a lot of people feel like when you say the word diet or when you say lifestyle change, that they have to stop doing things that they enjoy. And I remember when I lost weight, I had a one-woman show. I don't have one now, so I don't have a why. But my trainer said, I'm not going to take any food away from you. I'm going to add food to your diet. And I was like, how is this going to work? And what he did was I'm not a salad eater. He added salads. And then he gave me a way to eat. He was like, eat your salad first, then eat your greens, then eat your protein, then eat your mashed potatoes. Well, eventually, by the time I got around to the mashed potatoes, I didn't want many. And after doing that for so long, I didn't want any at all. And then you combine that with the workouts, which burns all of that energy. You really don't want the mashed potatoes and the Snicker bar. So it worked for a while. So I understand what you're saying. Janelle, I want to talk about, you said you started 15 minutes on the treadmill. And I think that when we think about being healthy, we think it has to be something grandioso, like what Bricks did, throwing all of the food in the refrigerator away and replenishing it with, apples and greens and celery. But it just takes something as simple as 15 minutes a day. But how do you stay consistent?
Oh, well, with me, when I first started, I told myself, if I do something that is drastic, I am not going to continue. I'm not going to continue. So I told myself, 15 minutes, it's different for me. I don't really do that. But when I was finished, I was like, okay, that's cool. You know what I mean? Even like getting take away juice, using a measuring cup to measure my rice, things like that, I just felt like if I were to just strip it all away at first, then I was just going to be like, I can't do this. This is too hard. No, so I wanted to give myself little baby steps before I just went all in, and I was like, set myself up for failure, basically. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
And just to be clear, I don't suggest people doing what I did. It was extreme. And there was a lot of things that I did initially that in retrospect didn't serve me. But I like to think I made a lot of mistakes so that I can coach people not to do the same thing.
Yeah, I feel like we all make a lot of mistakes when we're losing, during this whole weight loss journey of ours. I feel like we make so much mistakes, and like what you said, that's life. We just keep learning as we go along. You gain weight, lose weight, gain it back again, but it's all about just like what you said, not giving up and keep trying. You know what I'm saying? Because we're just human. We're going to make mistakes. But as long as we keep trying.
About intermittent. Am I saying that correct?
Intermittent fasting, yeah.
So what does that consist of? How does that work?
So intermittent fasting is when
I want to be clear to people. How did it work for you?
Okay. So when I first started, I was like, okay, I heard about intermittent fasting and I was like, what is this? And it was like, oh, intermittent fasting is when you basically you are fasting for a couple of hours and then you give yourself a grace period to eat. So I was like, okay, so what I did was 16-8 method, where I fast for 16 hours and I have an 8-hour eating window. And that was easy for me because I don't really eat breakfast anyways. You know what I'm saying? So I started eating at 12 and I would stop eating at 8. And with that, you get into a fat burning zone and your insulin goes all the way down. And you're cutting out one meal. So you're cutting out some calories. So basically it just helped me a lot. It helped me a lot. It did great for me.
So intermittent fasting was a powerful tool for me for weight management. Because what it allowed me to do, I love eating big meals. I love to feel full. So it allowed me to have 2 really big meals every day. That was the highlight of my day. And I still was able to control my calorie intake for the day. So it was a powerful tool for me. And it's now been a lifestyle for me for 4 years.
Yeah, I got into 1 meal a day, like the OMAD. So I eventually went to 1 meal a day where I would basically eat, I would say all of my calories, but honestly, I like big meals. So I'd eat all my calories in my 1 meal a day. And I used to feel I love the feeling of feeling full and satisfied. I hate when I'm oh, that's it. That's all I'm eating. You know what I mean? So I love the 1 meal.
Janae, I want to hear about your journey. What prompted you?
My journey has actually been very different from our 2 other guests because I was one of the ones that was sick of diets. I had tried everything, done everything, and it was to the point to where I could not go any further doing another plan. I did not want to do it. And so for me, it was a very intuitive process. I did not count calories. I did not follow any particular plan. I did not weigh my food. I really just started to kind of get in tune with my body and to really think about, things when I ate. I started to ask myself these questions. Is the food going to increase my energy level? Is this food going to make excellent building material for my body temple? And is this food going to help cure any disease that I have or prevent disease? I just started thinking about food in that way because I was sick of diets. And so I was like, I cannot do this again. So I'm going to take a different approach. And it was very intuitive. So I really started to tune in and ask myself those questions before I put anything in my mouth. What is this?
What was the first day? Can you tell us the first day you made this decision? What was your first step?
The first step for me was the result of a health scare. As you said, I'm a makeup artist, and I woke up one day not being able to move my right arm, which is what I use when I do makeup. Went to the emergency room, found out that it was a very bad case of bursitis. And it was right before celebrity booking. And so I'm in the emergency room trying to figure out what is going on. Very overweight, 100 pounds overweight, knee problems, arthritis, back problems, just all of these things compounding at once. And then having that health scare was just kind of like the wake up call, like you have got to make a change. And so honestly, I started walking with a friend. It was very simple. Kind of like Janelle started walking on the treadmill, me and a friend just went for a walk. And this spiritual connection with the outdoors really kind of resonated with me. Going to what Robert was saying as far as that whole spiritual healing, that was my process. The food piece came after that. It was the inside work that started to transpire in the beginning. And so simply walking with a friend is how my journey started.
Did you notice a difference in your weight or energy? Like, did you notice a difference at all when you started to walk? And when did you notice a difference?
Yeah, notice a difference in my energy. I started to notice it was helping me to slow down, just to really slow down and just kind of take a pause and just reevaluate my life, my business, my work, all of those things. The energy level was definitely changing. I wasn't losing weight immediately because it wasn't about the weight. It was about other issues that I needed to address. The weight came after. So yeah, it started with energy, walking, doing some green smoothies. And I started to eventually pay more attention to the food and really think about how I was using food to fuel my body. And that whole diet word, I started to think about, I'm not following a diet, but the food that I eat is my diet. So I had to do a whole mindset shift around the word diet because it really—
There's that mindset thing again. Yeah. Well, good thing we have two doctors on the show to tell us the healthiest methods of losing weight. And that's what we're going to find out when we return on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul, where the business of being Black tonight is obesity in the Black community. So let me go to our soulmates. Pretty Girl Politics says green tea and matcha green tea does so much for improving health overall and helps with weight loss, anti-aging, etc. Is that true, Dr. Hassan?
I don't know if that's absolutely true, but we encourage patients to try healthier foods. It's certainly healthier than drinking juices or sodas. So I don't know the actual, research behind matcha.
Therese says, haven't heard anyone speak on water intake. Is half of your body weight what we need to be drinking? So let's talk about water. I do enjoy water very much, but I also enjoy, I want to ask the doctors here. So let's say we're starting slow, like all of our panelists, Janelle, Briggs, and Shanae have suggested. Start slow. So let's say I'm walking 20 minutes a day and I ditch carbonated sodas, right? It's a great start, right?
Yep.
Does that mean I have to give up my lemonade and my fruit punch and my Welch's sparkling, drinks that I substitute for wine because I don't drink alcohol?
I think so. It's the sugar that's in those beverages that is causing your insulin to spike. As we talked about earlier. So that's what's the problem. So you have to give up all those high fructose corn syrup drinks so that you don't spike your insulin.
Dr. Knight, let's talk about water. How much water do we need, and how does water help, if it does at all, a person to lose weight? And
so water helps tremendously. When we think about, yes, we've all heard 6 to 8 glasses of water, but the fact is, if you're drinking water, it's hard to eat or drink anything else. Okay. Water is going to give you that energy. You're feeling full for some patients, and it's better than the sugar sweetened beverages. Again, when we think about sugar sweetened beverages, a patient will come into my office. I said, do you drink any soda? No. but I'm drinking ginger ale, I'm drinking lemonade, I'm drinking Kool-Aid. Think about anything that has sugar as a sweetener is going to be an issue. However, we still need liquids. We don't want to be dehydrated out here. And that's where water comes in. So water, sometimes there's a way that you can use a little bit of fruit to flavor your water if you're someone that just has to have a little something. But we really want to move patients to water being the largest beverage.
And how much water should a person, is the 6 to 8 correct? Or Therese says half your body weight. That seems like a lot of water.
Right. Well, you're not going to drink half your body weight. Okay.
I just may as well sit in the bathroom all day.
You'll be in the emergency room with that. 6 to 8 actually is a good start. And again, it depends on how much water you're losing. So if you're in the gym and you're sweating, you need more water. I would start with 6 to 8 and go from there.
And you say 6 to 8 glasses.
Right. So 8-ounce glasses. So a lot of us don't actually use glasses anymore. We use containers. So think about 6 to 8 times 8, right? So we're thinking at least 60 ounces and a greater of water per day.
I have a gallon jug. I have a gallon jug and a half-gallon jug. Yeah. So Dr. Hassan, we've heard all of these. We've heard 3 different approaches to losing weight. What is the healthiest way to prevent obesity?
So obviously, every person is different, and you should definitely speak with your doctor before, adopting any radical diet. But I think that small changes is really important. So cutting out small little things like the sodas and things like that. And then I don't think that one diet works for everyone. I think that food is a medication. And so it definitely, it changes for every single person. And for those people that can't lose weight and maintain their weight, I would highly recommend bariatric surgery, which is what I do.
And let's talk about that. How much must a person weigh in order to get weight loss surgery?
So in order to have bariatric surgery or weight loss surgery, your BMI, which is your body mass index, needs to be above 35 with one medical problem. So that includes high blood pressure, diabetes, pre-diabetes, PCOS, things like migraines, which we don't think about, but that's associated with another condition. And so that is a common cause of, or associated with obesity. And then without having any medical condition greater than a BMI over 40 is an indication for bariatric surgery.
I know a few people who've had weight loss surgery and they've gained the weight back. That's got to be extremely disappointing. Why does this happen?
Absolutely. And I think that, like I said, no process is perfect, right? And no surgery is perfect, and no person is perfect, and nothing fits everybody. There's no one size fits all. And so specific to bariatric surgery, people gain weight back because there could be some technical issues with their surgery, right? But also it's a possibility that they don't stick to their diet and lifestyle changes. So, for example, you start drinking those high fructose corn syrup drinks back again. So that's going to lead to insulin spiking. And despite any surgery, it's still going to make you regain weight.
And what's interesting about the surgery, and you can go on as many diets, have as many surgeries as you want. In the end, you're always going to be told to change your diet and exercise. So even after you've gone into weight loss surgery, there still has to be a change in diet, and there still has to be exercise, right or wrong.
Right. Absolutely. And the diet and the exercise helps you to maintain your weight. Weight loss surgery helps you to kind of boost and get, jumpstart on your weight loss, but it really is the diet and lifestyle changes that you're making that really helps you to maintain and get, great weight loss success.
Look, I went on a diet during this COVID thing for 21 days. I stuck to a diet plan, right? Raw foods for 21 days. I lost 22 pounds. And on the 23rd day, I gained 22 pounds. We're going to come right back so that Dr. Knight can tell us how we can solve the obesity problem in the Black community on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Welcome back to the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. We're wrapping things up about obesity in the Black community. Dr. Knight, how can we solve this obesity problem in the Black community?
We have to understand what food does to our bodies and build a lifestyle. One of the things you've heard from the panelists tonight is I don't even like the word diet. When patients come in my office, I said, we don't do diets here. We do a dietary approach because food is always going to be a part of your life. But I don't want you to live to eat. I want you to eat to live. So understanding how the foods that we need actually affect our weight. Small changes. Sometimes it's so depressing to look on the BMI scale and say, I have to lose 100 pounds. When am I going to do that? I just want you to lose 2 pounds this week. You know, that is the kind of goal that I'm talking about. And sustainable weight loss is effective. I have patients who have been losing 2 pounds a week. And guess what? After a year, it's 50 pounds. 2 years, they have been down 100 pounds and they have kept it off. While the patients who have lost 20 pounds in a month by starving, they have a really, really difficult time. So I think it's very important to understand as a community, this is a lifestyle change. This is not something that's going to happen for 2 months, for 3 months, whether you have surgery or not. You have to get into an understanding of how to approach food and how to approach physical activity so we can live the healthiest lives in our community. That is possible.
Yeah, Dr. Knight, I felt like you threw a little shade at me, but okay. Yeah, my grandmother had diabetes, and she reversed her diabetes by changing her diet and walking daily. And she lived a very long time to 90 years old. So, Briggs, what can you tell us about Briggs Fitness and the mission behind your company?
So my mission is to promote the mindset behind the weight loss process. Like, we all know the mechanics. We all know we have to eat less. We all know we have to exercise more, but no one really talks about the psychology. And a big part of the mission of my company is to teach people how to acquire the proper mindset that will make the mechanics simple and easy.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need the most. Shanae, you have a book called Fresh, Healthy, and Indulgent Eats. I like the book already. Do you have a favorite dish from your book that you can share with us, or what would you like to share with us about the book?
Oh man, yeah, I have one that my twins request all the time is the healthy kale ramen that I make for them. Because they saw ramen on TikTok one day and was just like, we want ramen. And I was like, I'm not going to give you the ramen I had in college, but I'm going to make a healthier version.
So your ramen are kale, like kale shaped in the form of ramen?
No, just a ramen, regular ramen noodles, but it's just a lot of kale, a lot of carrots, a lot of vegetables in it. So that it's a very...
Oh, I like that.
So it's a nice rich broth. And so, yeah, it's a much healthier version.
Do you use a vegetable broth or chicken broth to make the ramen?
I've done both, but I've used vegetable broth. I've done both. You can do both.
Okay. All right. And Janelle, tell us about your YouTube channel and how it came about.
Well, I've been doing YouTube for a long time. And I just, going on this journey, decided to bring all of my supporters along with me. So I just really... I like to let them know the nitty gritty, everything, the bad, the good. Sometimes people might say I cry a lot on my channel, when I make mistakes. But just bringing the community like all together so we know we're not alone, and keeping God first, definitely for me, was one thing that helped me get, my journey going and successful. So yeah, keeping God number one, definitely.
You are all very inspiring. Dr. Hassan, take us out on this. What's one way that we can all start preventing obesity?
Small steps. So start getting rid of those, sugary diet, sodas, fruit juices, and then start walking little small walks every day. That's all you need to do. Take that little step, the first journey.
Dr. Knight, I'm going to let you take us on home with it. So one thing I can do starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow, you can pick one thing on that list. So I told patients, I'm going to give you some tickets. You can only use so many. So what is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be the soda? Is it going to be the sugary cereal? Is it going to be getting out and walking for 15 minutes? And every week, I want you to add another thing. And by 3 months, you are going to be so much on a pathway that feels natural, that feels sustainable. And that's the most important thing. We want you to have a lifestyle of health, a lifetime full of health and reversing diseases. And the only way to do that is to be intentional and to be committed.
I love that. I love that. I'm doing it tomorrow. You got me. I am so doing it. Water all day tomorrow. No sugary, what do you call it? Drinks. It's the easiest thing for me to stop doing anyway. So I love that. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shanae, Janelle, Bricks, Dr. Hassan, and Dr. Knight. I appreciate all of you. And until tomorrow, everybody, it's a blessing to be in your box on the Tammi Mac Late Show on Fox Soul. Bye, y'all.